Welcome to session 6 of the Reignite program. It's our final session of this series of classes. And if you're watching the video, welcome.
To get us started, let's just take a breath. We'll do some grounding, quick visualization. Get us all in here together, our energy collected. Oh, you want to yawn? Take a big yawn. The coolness as the air comes in through your nostrils. Imagine those little molecules of oxygen passing down your throat into your lungs, passing through the membrane into the blood, and going out to source trillions of cells in your body. It's an amazing thing that we live inside of. Now this body has carried us through the 6 weeks, ups and downs, healings and dings and strengths and energy, the whole gamut, being a human being in a human body. The joy of being a human being, bringing our gifts and our purpose into the world, igniting other fires and other people. Seems like it's been a long time since the first session. Allow your mind to travel back and be back there in that time and space and see if there's anything that comes to you to join this group for the first time. Meeting your support partner. The challenges with that or the successes with that. Your own journey of commitments and growth, hits and misses and recommits and notices. As you think forward over the 6 weeks, things that you learned, maybe an interaction that you had with somebody where it was different because of the time you've spent here, and what you've learned, what you've opened to let go of. Any enhanced ability of self-confidence with what we've been learning, what we've been practicing. And hopefully your own inner fire growing. And aware of all of us around the planet, all of our drops of rain that add up to the thundering storm of transformation, possibilities that are in that. And it's not all up to us. What part do we want to play? Finally, just look at your states of being. Times where that you got into that flow. There's more being than doing. It's more present in the moment, settled in your body, settled in your spirit, settled in your heart, trusting, faithing. This space is always available to us with the breath and with practice. quiet symphony of heartbeats. Acknowledge yourself for your intention and for your time here, for your purposefulness. This is not a small thing that we're doing. It's easy for our minds to want to quantify it for us. That's just our mind getting in, wanting to put a number. In reality, transformation isn't big or little, it's transformation. And you're a change maker. Allow that to resonate in your body. Take 2 or 3 more breaths at home, grounded. And when you're ready, open your eyes and connect the others that are in the space with you, pathmates, resources, partners, inspirers. It's what we get to be for each other. People that came behind us, before us, Sue and Brad, and all the people in all the communities that have been a part of keeping this moving. We have an incredible inheritance and legacy. When I think of that, I often get to, I don't know how I got to be this lucky. Just don't know how I got to be this lucky to be here in this space, learning the things that I've learned, having experiences with incredible people. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to have this course. It's been a learning for all of us.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. I heard Karen say 3 months, and I thought, 3 months? Had it been that long? And I realized it really has been that long. 3 months of being together, and it's gone by so quickly. So we're going to have some time for you to share about what has this journey been like for you? What were some of your wins, your challenges? When Ross was doing the visualization, what came out for you? All right.
Yes, for me was, you hear me?
Mhm.
For me, in this journey, I am feeling like I missed 2 sessions, and I had a lot of challenge for writing about, you know, fabulous.
Facilitator
I had a lot-
Fabuloso, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I had a lot of challenge to write, and and also for preparing, you know, letter for preview, and also for the flyer. I have to practice, so that was my challenge in this journey, and I think is not is unfinished journey, and I have to, if I see the record again, and I can figure out what should I do more.
Mhm. So you mentioned,
I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Colette, to supporting me all this time. So it will be better.
Mhm. Thank you, Pari. I was wondering, you mentioned different things that you had challenges with. Is there a theme that's running there for you? Something that you can see about you with all those challenges?
Yeah, I am I give up very easily.
Mm-hmm.
So this time I decided not to give up, just keep going by myself and see where I will be in future.
Yeah. And how did it work to go through it by yourself versus partnering with somebody and doing
Oh,
it?
I love that. I love that. If I find a partner, I would love that to do it.
Yeah. I think it might be a different way.
Mhm.
Makes it not quite so easy to give up on ourselves when we have somebody else holding our hand and going forward.
You're right.
Yeah. So we're going to redo this class in January,
Mhm.
and it might work for you or it might not to retake it and think about doing it in a different way.
All right.
And
I will.
maybe, maybe enroll somebody to take it with you and be partnered with them during the 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Because that way, if you are thinking about putting on a course and you have somebody that might do it with you, if y'all do this class together, the way that Janet and Rainishay have done, that might really put a lot of pieces together for you that you're right on the edge of getting to.
Okay. I will.
Because I know if
Thank
I'm
you.
alone, it's much easier for me to give up what I say I'm going to do. But if I have an accountability partner, I have a double reason for wanting to do what I say I'm going to do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pari. Who else? Jen?
For me, it's been about getting myself comfortable with feeling uncomfortable and challenging myself to step out into the light, so to speak, and do things that I don't come naturally to me. So Susie and I had a go trying to do a short video to promote our C course. I'd never done it before. Didn't really know what I was doing. Neither did she. Of course, the first time we got together and did it did not come out perfectly. It was even close to perfect, but it was still such a good experience. And it's something that you can get to where you want to be. You just have to keep practicing because you have to learn to get comfortable with each other, comfortable with yourself, seeing and hearing yourself on camera, and that's a skill like anything else that you can learn to do. So doing something that I ordinarily would have been like, oh God, no, this is terrible. This isn't. Let's just forget it. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Now, I mean, we had fun doing it. We had a laugh doing it, and so I think that was this reignite has been really useful in pushing me to get comfortable with things that I would normally be like, oh, no, 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 not for me, not doing it. No.
About stepping out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And anytime we do something new, it's not comfortable.
Mm.
And our growth never happens where it's comfortable. Our growth always happens where our knees are knocking a little bit and we're not comfortable. So thanks for your willingness to let yourself be uncomfortable.
Mm.
We kind of have a society that says, oh, you should be comfortable all the time. Or take a pill for it, you know.
Mm.
Yeah. But good
Well,
for
and
you.
the nice thing about video is it doesn't have to be perfect. And if it really sucks, you just delete it. You know, or yeah, and I can tell you the promos that me and Sylvia have done, we've got a 2-minute promo that we just did for the transformational experience. And you know, I flubbed something up and we just keep recording and she's just sitting there being Sylvia. And then I start at the beginning and I go back through it again and then I can just clip that piece out. So it takes a little of the pressure off of wanting, you know, to have it look perfect or whatever. And the more conversational and engaging it is anyway, you know, the better it is. Hopefully we get to the point where all of us are doing so many videos that we can have some outtakes and, you know, goofy stuff that we did that didn't work and share those too.
Mhm.
That's great. I'm happy that y'all did that. It gets easier each time you do it. At least for me, it has.
Welcome, Susie. Glad you woke up.
We're just sharing
Susie,
about,
go ahead.
yeah, we're just sharing about, we did a visualization about the last 6 weeks or so and what we've learned, what we've seen and pieces like that. So you'll be able to catch up on that on the video. And then we're just talking about what came up in the visualization or what wins or challenges. What have you noticed in the last 6 weeks that when you think back, it pops up as either significant or surprising or that you're grateful for?
So Janet and Raina Shea, y'all were in the unique position of actually having a class coming up. So
Well, I definitely recommend having someone you're really planning to teach with to take this class. I think it really made it a lot richer for me. And I can't speak for Janet because I know she had some challenges, but overall, I think knowing that we really are right now prepping to teach our class really I helped me to get more out of it, I guess. I was reminded recently that sometimes I can take a little bit of information, like just a little bit of a significant refinement. I can turn that into a big shift for myself. And so I feel like those are the things that I got in this class. I think to a certain extent, I felt prepared to teach the class that we're going to be doing, but some of the marketing, some fears I needed to step through to do marketing and make it personal and authentic. Those are some of the things I got. I think the encouragement to do the elevator speech and actually make a video, those were big for me. And really, I don't know, it was like 3 classes ago when you suggested we do the vision board. And that was the first thing I did right after that class. And I've had it sitting on my desktop ever since. And so every time I open my laptop, it's there looking at me. And I know that, like, I asked about it last time and it sounded like nobody else had really done it or prioritized it. And I think it's one of the things that's probably made a biggest difference for me, that every time I look at it, I'm reminded of the themes and ideas that I set up for myself for not only how I want to be as a facilitator, but how I want to interact with my co-facilitator and how I want to interact with my participants when we teach the class. So, and it's in the Google Drive if anyone wants to look at it.
We do want to look at it. Absolutely. Yeah. Vision boards are so powerful. I'm glad that you did make it. Did anybody else make a vision board? Let's acknowledge Raina Shea. for
And there's no
doing-
time like the present. You can do it after the end of class if you'd like.
Yeah,
Am I able to share right now? I don't
Uh,
know.
Ross can
Yeah,
allow.
no,
you
it says I can't.
Hang on, I can,
Ross can allow you to.
I could just share it real quick,
okay.
because I'm proud of it.
Sure.
Yes. Wow.
And there's such a cohesiveness to it. Just the first impression is it's so well.
Inspiring. Take yourselves off mute and see if there's one word. Inspiring is my word that you think of when you see this beautiful board.
Motivational.
Me, it speaks volumes.
For me, is connecting.
Intentional.
It's balanced from the standpoint of the thinking part of it and the declaration part of what matters, but also the energy, colors and the energy. It's a full spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Grounded.
Grounded. I would love for you to consider sharing this on either Friends of Mortal Life or
Mm.
the LF group in the
Mhm.
hub, because it's amazing.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
thinking I want to print it out and put it.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you for sharing that.
Mm.
Yeah.
you're welcome. And thank you all for your feedback.
Mm.
It's nice. It really is. And it's strange. I've done a lot of vision boards in the past with the magazines, but it's a lot harder. I can't use scissors right now. And so I decided to do it digitally. And I don't know that I've ever really done one like that. But it came together. And so I really, I'll admit, when we were doing the meditation, I was a little unsure. I was kind of like, I'm not sure if I'm really getting into this. But right afterwards, I just started working on it after that class, and it just came together pretty quickly. So obviously the meditation and helped.
Well, it's a work of art.
Mm.
Yeah. Thank you all for your shares. Okay, Ross, over to you.
All right. So one piece of homework, let's see, Setlopo said he's having a challenge with the laptop and video camera, but he's here, so I'm believing he can hear us and is participating that way. Excellent.
Welcome, Setlopo.
Glad you're
Yeah.
here.
Oh, okay.
So part of the homework was about having conversations with folks throughout the week in a way that allowed you to attempt to discern which of the 4 types they are, and possibly even alter your communications with them in a way that would speak more to their type. Remember when we were talking about the 4 different types, we spent quite a bit of time in the last class. What are the things that they say or do that might tip you off that they're a particular type? And what are the things that you can say to them that might resonate with them more? So does anybody have any of those conversations And it could be about anything. It could be about, going to the grocery store or something, just an engagement with somebody where you were noticing that.
Shannon,
I I was very aware of the 4 different types, and I've had a full week of having connecting conversations with people. Next time this course is offered, I would recommend doing the video from Jilly on enrollment and the 4 types of learners earlier than week 4 or 5. So that way we could actually practice it throughout the duration of Reignite. For me, I didn't have time in the last 2 weeks to really focus specifically on that. But having said that, I feel more confident in having enrollment conversations with people anyway, whether or not I pegged them. But what I was aware about was whenever I was presenting, I was aware of putting in enough information that I could touch every one of the 4 learning types, even if I didn't know which specific one they were.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to include that. What the downside to that is I made videos this past week. And the downside to that is I could not get my video under 2 minutes. I did 3 of them. The first one was too long. I threw it out. The second one was okay. The third one was okay, but the last 2 were the exact same length. And I liked it, but I would have preferred for it to be about 2/3 of the length that it was. But it gives me something to work on for the next time around, and I'm glad that I did it. I don't know if I answered your question, but I found that the types of learners is really helpful in having enrollment conversations. And I'd like a little more time to practice that when I'm not in the middle of enrolling for a course at the same time. So
Yeah. The piece about the videos being longer, again, as we all practice making videos and learn about it, read about it, watch YouTube videos on how to do it, yada, yada, yada. One thing that seems to work is that there's a title. And if we learn how to frame our titles to speak to this, a certain person, or because there's a couple of types that are similar, that to speak to both of those types, and your title engages that type, then maybe you do a minute video from that perspective, and then you do a minute video from the other perspective, and segregate them by titles. And that way, it's easier to get said in a way that's consumable. And they may self-select into something, or they may watch all 3 and go, "Oh, that's pretty interesting." So,
okay,
there's ways to play with some of that stuff.
yeah, good
and
point.
I think it's interesting that you said you don't really have time to practice doing that because you're doing enrollment conversations. That is your time. That is your time to practice. It's not 2 separate things.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I do this whole thing intuitively, and I allow myself to be with the person and allow the right words to respond to what they have to say. And I do that intuitively. I'm less in my head about figuring out what type they are so that I could give it to them in a specific language. But I hear what you're saying, Sylvia. It was kind of comical. And
Well,
also,
and I think intuitively you probably are doing it because you're a good enroller.
yeah.
It doesn't have to just go into your head and then come back out,
Yeah.
because you know it, and it can come through your heart.
That's a good point. And Ross, I also wanted to acknowledge when you did the little meditation earlier, when you had the phrase symphony of heartbeats, that really resonated with me. I hadn't heard that particular word grouping for a while, and it just really settled. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Well, Janet and I had our first preview on Tuesday this week, and I was a little bit aware in the back of my mind that I wanted to be paying attention for the cues for the different types. But I kind of like what Janet was saying, I was also trying to be so in the moment and in make sure I was sticking to my agenda and that I was being present with the participants and everything that it was hard to really like pay attention really and try and decide which type they were. But I did think it was really interesting afterwards to look back and think about, okay, what did I notice in the participants in our preview? One of my friends, I probably could have guessed she was a reflector. And of course, she wanted to meet with me again later. So we ended up having, she had some other things she wanted to talk to me about other than just the course. So we ended up having a 2-hour Zoom yesterday, and she's still thinking about it. She's not quite ready to really make a decision. So I think I was right that she's the reflector. She
Mhm.
needs to take some time to be really she seems very engaged and interested in what the course has to offer. And she wants to be absolutely sure that she can commit the time and do it in the way she wants to do it and so on. So I'm kind of like Janet said, though, it takes time to practice being aware of those things.
And
Mhm.
sometimes after those conversations, like you said, when you're looking back at what type, you can use that information for your next touch with them.
Right.
Yeah, thank you. Susie, what about you? I want to hear your voice today. Have you been able to gauge types and things when in conversations with people?
Actually, this whole last week I've been looking after a puppy dog, so I virtually seen nobody. But I've read the email quite a few times, and it's kind of jogging my memory about, or it's kind of infiltrating my consciousness, if you like, the different types. But I'm a bit like Janet. I kind of intuitively listen to people. I'm definitely a reflector myself. In fact, I'm probably an overbaked reflector. But yeah, I've really enjoyed the classes, and it's a huge amount of thought has gone into them. So thank you very much. A lot of thought, and what the best ways to approach enrolling. But Jennifer and I heard her talk as I came on. I'd fallen asleep. Yeah, we had fun making well, not a little video, but it was such fun, actually.
Good.
It was really it was fun, a challenging fun. And by the time we'd finished, even though we haven't finished, and I wanted to put it everywhere. I wanted to put it all over the news.
Yeah, yeah.
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 And that's the purpose, is to have joy and fun as you are being purposeful.
Yeah, it was fun.
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're in that space, that centered and grounded space and in touch with your purpose, that's what comes through naturally. So just practicing getting to do that. Just like Jenna, I have a question for you, Susie.
Yeah.
As an overbaked reflector, what advice would you give Raina Shea about her friend who sounds like she may be similar to you?
A red hot poker. What advice? Well, maybe something like, when was the last time you felt excited about doing something? Or when was that's what just came to my mind just now. Where did you kind of direct questions, very direct questions in a confident way, I'd say. Very direct, because a reflected kind of person that you're saying, I'm totally receptive, so I don't have a lot of strategic thought ability. that's not a negative thing. It's just the way I am. And I know I'm like that because everything goes in and then it works itself out and then it kind of comes out at times. So if that person is a bit like me, your reflector type is a bit like my way of learning, then you do have to give time. You definitely give time, but then the person wants you to come back, I'd say.
Would it be helpful to give them a deadline of making their choice?
Not necessarily,
Okay.
but it could do. I mean, it depends in the moment, really.
Mhm.
You can seize moments that are there, or
Or there could be times where somebody's convinced themselves that, yeah, I want to do this, I'm in. And then the closer it gets to it, suddenly they start getting nervous. So maybe following up closer to the actual class and re-enrolling
Yeah.
again.
I think no pressure is a good thing for reflecting types, because any pressure that I feel to know stuff that I don't have access to in the moment is difficult.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Thank you, Susie. Actually, as I'm reflecting on my conversation from yesterday, maybe I do tend to ask a lot of questions, but intuitively, I suspected that she really didn't want to be sort of put on the spot in that way, but with too many direct questions. And so it was more that I kind of trickled examples or information about what I've gotten out of the course, or and at the end we were about to get off and I said, and she said something about her sleep, and it made me think about a participant in Letitia's class that Janet and I served on team. And so I just dropped in a quick little story about how the course had helped that participant. And she was kind of like, I could see it impact her. And she was kind of like, that might do it. But we were already getting off, and I knew she wasn't really ready to make a decision right then. But it was like by trickling and giving her little bits that she can reflect on, that seemed to be effective for her at least.
It helps to have some real life examples to tie these types to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Ross and I
Sylvia.
are doing a preview
Go ahead. Yeah,
this
that's what I was
week
gonna say.
with a woman who obviously was a theorist. And she said, I want to go back and do some research. In fact, she was already on the More to Life website before the class was over researching. So it helped us too to think about these types.
So, let's see where we at. Sylvia, did you
Yes.
want to shift us? We're smack dab on time, which is lovely.
So one of the topics today we want to talk about is previews. What would our purpose be in having a preview? What would your purpose be in a preview? Lopo, can we have your voice in there? We can't see you. I don't know if you can hear us. I don't know.
Yes. Send
So
you.
anybody else?
Okay.
I guess he'll come in if he can come in.
Yeah.
Why do you want to have a preview before an event?
To give people a taste of what they're going to be doing, to answer questions, to reassure people who may be unsure. Yeah, to give people an idea of what they're could be walking into.
Yeah, very few people will just see something and click on it and register. Most people want a bit of an appetizer, and that's how I see a preview, as a bit of an appetizer to get their appetites whetted for the meal being your class. Who else? What would your purpose be? Or what do you see as your purpose? Janet?
I see us giving them an opportunity to explore how the course that we're offering could benefit them. And the secondary purpose, not the primary, but the secondary purpose is to give them an opportunity to see that, actually three things. The secondary would be that they could get to see that they're not the only person exploring the topic of purpose or self-esteem or whatever. But in addition to that, they get to build trust in who the facilitators are. So those would be the following two, but that's not the primary purpose. Primary is for them and what's in it for them. Secondary is they get to compare themselves to others and then build trust in us.
Yeah, because if they don't trust you at the preview, they're not going to sign up for your course. It's like, any good salesperson, they're selling themselves first, and then they're selling what they're actually selling. But it's about making that connection. And, you and Susie mentioned, and Raina Shay also mentioned using your intuition to have those conversations. And that requires some deep listening. And everybody listen to.
And while I was sharing, or right before I shared, I got a text message from somebody who is enrolling in our POP class, and he wanted to do a brief session with me tomorrow. So I found myself responding to that. So that's enrollment in action.
There you go. There you go. Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Colette.
Well, something Janet mentioned that resonated with me, and that is something that a person can have an experience of being in a group, and what's that like to be with other people, and held in that way. And I've found that's very connecting and lively. Inspired each other. That's it, Lope.
Yeah, I muted him. Sounds like he's on the phone or something.
So how would you go about telling people about your preview, telling people you're going to have one? What are some different ways that you could enroll the preview? What have you used before? What have you thought about using before?
Well, I do like to sometimes emphasize that the preview is free, and I think of it as a little bit of a mini course all in itself. And so even if they don't decide to sign up for the main course, they will have an experience, and that's enough.
Mm-hmm. They may find insights, or you say something that turns on some light for them. Yeah, that's one of the things that I always liked about doing previews, is sometimes a person wouldn't enroll in the course, but boy, they'd get a lot out of those previews. So, that was what they were there for at that point in time.
And that is a piece of your preview, making sure that you have something that's experiential, to hit the activists and the pragmatists, to show them right away, hello, Amina, that they can do it, and give them so that they feel something with your experience. Because the head stuff isn't connecting. The heart stuff is connecting. And that's why you do have an experience. So how might you let people know that you're going to have a preview? What are some ways? Said Lopo, do you want to chime in here? If you were having a preview, how would you let people know?
It's true. I would say part of it is through the contacts. I would say by word of mouth and through flyers and invites direct to people through the people they know. And some could be people that I personally know, that I would personally invite, and they can extend the invites to other people.
That's an important thing, is to ask them if they will share it with somebody. And if you think about people in your community who have what we call reach, you know, they know people, they belong to groups, or people who generally talk about what they're doing. That's the people you want to invite, because they're the most likely to share it with somebody else. And so you could do it, like Lopo says, through email, direct email, word of mouth. How else?
Well, I'm thinking about Pari and MD Anderson. I've done previews before that were called lunch and learns, so that essentially you go to somebody's office or a business or someplace central to where there are a lot of people working, and have a space to sit down for an hour and 15 minutes and just talk about, you know, what is the value of self-esteem, and, you know, is your self-esteem based on what you did and what you've, you know, pieces like that are external, or is your self-esteem based on who you are? And that often can be a good starting point where somebody starts to hear about it and starts to consider some of that, and it makes it easier to call them back and say, you know, what did you think about the lunch and learn? What struck you in that, Ari?
The problem with the Anderson, because they have group to support the patient.
Okay.
So I don't think they are going to let me to go there and talk with the patient.
But there are groups, Facebook groups for cancer survivors, people who are in the midst. I know your daughter was in some sort of a group of people who had breast cancer.
The young people, yeah.
So groups
The
like
young people.
that, who directly have something that, or directly could be interested in what you have to say. And the fact that you have had cancer gives you an inside track with them. How else? What are some other ways? Mina?
Thank you, Ross.
Colette had her hand up first.
Okay, Colette and then Mina.
Thank you. At one point, I was tending to be focused on people who were there for others. They were in their work was being of service. So there was a group who went in to people's homes to support them with their children, and if they were struggling. And so I contacted the head of that group, and I said, I would like to come along to a team meeting, and I'll do this exercise with your staff, because I believe that it will help your staff to help the families. And so they were interested, and then that's what I did. Wow. And I geared it to not necessarily to them personally, because they weren't focused on themselves. It was all about, you know, being there. But we did the exercise, and that, again, very connecting, a bit challenging, because the focus was, again, out there rather than here. Mm-hmm. However, you know, it resonates as the truth, and that resonates, doesn't it, as human beings? So that worked very well.
I think that was brilliant of you to pick up on where their main interest would be and to go in through that way. Mina.
Hello, everybody. Apologies, I was late. The children just refused to go home. Yeah, I actually had one child that said, "But Mina, I'm going to sleep with you." So we're here at the park. But my home is at the park, according to them. But no. So
Yeah.
I'm jumping in, and I'm not quite sure who, what, and when. If you've spoken about this already, so spaces and places and people to help you advertise is always the best thing. Testimonials are always amazing because that's your walking billboards with you without having to do anything extra. And you could, one, use the More to Life platform, obviously, you know, the hub, etc. So that's an option. Then, like Sitlopo said, flyers, etc., your contacts, your personal people, that's another option. If you have your own website, even just a landing page or your Facebook page, and you post those testimonials of, you know, your friends and family that have done the course, that's a big piece also, because people want to hear what other people say and do and their experience. There's a piece of trust that goes along with that. So when they hear Susie goes, you know, when I did this, XYZ happened to me. And Susie's other friends, because I trust Susie, more often than not, you've already made half of the sale because that trust base is already there. So if you can get your friends and family to share, not only friends and family, colleagues, and this is why I'm like a stuck record sometimes with More to Life and say, please tag everybody in, tag your team in, so that other people can see your trusted colleagues and fellow people are in this, whatever it is that you're offering, whether it's POP, POC, etc. Then other places to go and advertise and to have other people also support you is at your venue. So depending on the venue that you choose, it could be, for example, a yoga studio. They would often also have a newsletter that goes out, and they would often also allow you to advertise in those spaces, online and digital newsletter and a printed one. So check in with those places as well, because again, they're doing the advertising for you. And more often than not, they have a huge database, and you may not have that. So they can then advertise to the masses for a small little amount that you may need to pay. So those kind of newsletters also work out really well. Have a look in your area if you have something similar. So here in Cape Town, for example, we've got a health and wellness that comes out every 6 months. So that would be a place for us to advertise, to see what works in your area. Then with regards to hospitals and the medical industry as a whole, health and wellness industry. So in various, tell me if I'm going too fast, by the way, in various career paths, people need to do personal development hours. And depending on who you are, you need to have a certain amount of hours per year. So if you belong to the HSPCA, depending on your, whether you are a oral hygienist, a dentist, a psychologist, a doctor, anyone in that range, they need to at least have, stand corrected, but I think it's 60 CPD hours a year. And that's why they often go onto courses, and they do it a lot. And depending on the company that they work with, and please check in your various states and so on. Yeah, in South Africa, the government gives tax back to the company when they send people to these courses. So it works for us to be registered as a company, and all our courses are CPD registered in the UK. It is something we're looking at in other countries as well. We're looking at it now in South Africa, because once we do that, we register our courses, we can then offer that to companies like a hospital who needs all their nurses and doctors to do CPD hours. You then come in as the facilitator, providing this certified accredited course, which they need, and they get money back from the government for that. So it's already in their budget. So it's an easier sell, it's an easier way of you getting people, plus you're doing your course. The only thing around that is you do need to plan ahead up front, because they may need to have budget So for example, you may not be able to do it this year, but probably in the 2025 budget. So to approach them around how can I book, where can I book, who do I speak to, and those kind of things. It does help if you already are associated with them. So like Pari, for example, you're already working, in the cancer unit with those patients. So perhaps have a conversation with them. And they may not want you to do it because they already have a support group. But any other support around there, they may say, you know what, our doctors actually need to do the course, not necessarily the patients themselves. But like you're saying, Colette, the healthcare workers that look after the sick people, they also need support. So it's these kind of spaces that we often forget about, that's overlooked. And this is where you as facilitators can come in and step into that gap. Even things like networking events, tourism and hospitality, those people, and coming from someone who worked in tourism for over 25 years, at the end of the day, I'm drained. How do I resource myself? Because I spend all my energy and time on other people, all the foreigners and tourists. So that's another space for you to look into. And again, Tourism Association, also, they ask for people to come and train. So have a look in your various regions for those. And please attend places like business chamber events. They often have opportunities for you to be upfront, speak about what you do. You've got this is where your elevator speech comes in, your 2 or 3 minute little talk about yourself. And you're allowed to provide brochures, send information to people. And it's a great way to get contacts, get email addresses. So you start building your own email list. So eventually, when you're ready, you can send out a newsletter to these people. So one of the things I learned recently, and it was reminded again, that if Facebook decides to change their rules, which they do every so often, the only way that I can contact my clients is through phone and email. So try to get all that information so that if for whatever reason something happens, you have a contact for that person and you can then still connect with them. Okay, that was a lot. I am going to put that down on paper so that you have this.
That'd be great.
I also have a tick list for you and I'll send it out to everybody.
You mentioned health and wellness. Often you can get a booth at a local health and wellness fair for like $25. Pari and I did it at the Persian Festival. We rented a booth and they're not very expensive. And you have a place where people can come, you have flyers, you talk with them, invite them to your previews. Anywhere where people are going to be, grocery stores, coffee shops that have bulletin boards, tack your flyers on there.
And if you're going to do something like that, use Bitly. It's probably something else that we can put it as a resource to generate a QR code. And a QR code is like a barcode, except it's a square. It looks like a funky crossword puzzle. And that way, all somebody has to do is just look at it with their phone and they can go straight to your registration link for your preview.
Mm-hmm. And as you are crafting your preview, of course, you want to start introducing yourself and giving information about any credentials that you have, classes you've taught or experiences you've had. You may not have a degree or something, but you have some longevity in work, even your work with the More to Life. It's impressive to people when they hear that you've been a volunteer for a nonprofit agency for a number of years, and then give the people a chance to introduce themselves, what they do for a living, and why they decided to come. Give them an experience, and then at the end, don't forget to have an ask. What I usually say is after the experience, I give them some details about the course. And then I say, well, at this point, normally people are either a yes or a no or a maybe. And I ask them directly, where are you? And sometimes people forget to ask.
Or it's uncomfortable. Some people, it's uncomfortable because you're wanting them to tell you something that maybe might feel vulnerable to them or they're not sure about. It's sort of like for some reason, it goes in my head sometimes like it's calling them out when it's really not, I'm not calling them out. I'm just wanting to know, what their next step is. And usually, and previously used to do in Houston when they were in person, we would tell them at the front, we're okay with whatever you decide. This may be your experience of this organization. And we're fine with yes and no. If you're a maybe, we'd like to continue the conversation and find out if there's something else that you're not aware of or something else. Because some people maybe want a private conversation about it and they just don't want to speak up in a group. So it takes the pressure off. They know that we're not going to get a toaster oven if we sell them a ticket. And, and then at the end, we thank them for their time, even if they're a no. Glad you came, really happy that you wanted to explore this. And, because you never know, that person might go, I'm not up for that. That's just not my thing. But their little sister or their cousin or a coworker might suddenly show up.
And I always set the context that part of my purpose is for you to see if it's a fit for you. Not that I'm going to sell you something, but it's a decision. That's really what enrolling is they enroll themselves into whatever you're offering. Janet, did you have something?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. First, this whole discussion about marketing is really helpful. And Mina, thank you for everything that you just presented, quick as it was. You said something about accreditation. In the US, we call them CEUs, continuing education credits and all of that. There was at one point discussion about getting this kind of accreditation for the More to Life coaches. And I understand that the way things happen in other parts of the world are not necessarily the way they happen in the US. And I'm curious about whether or not there's any of this kind of accreditation being pursued in the United States, because that would be really helpful for those of us who are here. That's part one.
Okay, do you want an answer to that question?
Sure, and then hopefully I'll remember the other part. go on.
Okay, in the US, it's done state by state, and there's usually a board, either a board of therapists or a board of
Medical
nurses or
association,
whatever.
Yeah.
And it's usually applying to that board for what the qualifications are for CEU credits. And we had somebody at one point who was really active in doing that. At this point, we don't have anybody who is pursuing that line. So it's an open road there. All right, your other question.
I'm already thinking about 2 people to get involved in pursuing that for the Houston area.
Good.
Okay. The next thing is what Colette said before about giving people an easy arm's distance. Several years ago, there was a very bad hurricane in Texas that I was a part of. And one of my coaching clients worked for a nonprofit organization and wrote a grant proposal. And we were able to provide 3 or 4 self-esteem classes for the caregivers, for the people who worked for nonprofit organizations that were so busy helping people recuperate from their hurricanes that they weren't paying attention to the fact that they had what we call blue roofs, because their car had been flooded or their house had been, the roof had been, blown off. And so we were able to actually get some grants to provide this for the caregivers, and that was really incredibly helpful. So much of this conversation is helpful. I did a presentation for a hospital support group a couple of weeks ago, and one of the people who was at that presentation will be at our next preview session for the POP. There's so many good ideas being discussed here that I'm glad it's being recorded. There's a lot more I want to say about it, but I want to listen to what other people are doing.
Yeah.
So,
And Thank you. Ross is going to talk a little bit about trying to decide, do I want to do it in person or do I want to do it online? Because there's some considerations for both.
Oh, I had one more thought before I forget. The other thought is a lot of us make up entire scripts about what marketing means. But for me, it's not about thinking about marketing and having a marketing plan. For me, it's about owning what it is that I teach and modeling it and living it and let it arise naturally in conversations with people. That, yeah, I have things I want to do and I plan time to get out my constant contact newsletter and all that. But when my occupational therapist was here giving me exercises on my hand and he asked what I did and I told him about POP, he was like, oh yeah, that sounds really good. And it was just so easy for me to say, here's a flyer and why don't you invite somebody to go with you? It's like we make such a big deal about everything we quote unquote have to do. But if we just allow it to generate within us and just fall out of our mouths, that's the easiest way to do it. For me, anyway. Enough of me.
Thank you, Janet. Hey, Ross?
Raina Shea had her hand up. Is it a quick one, Raina Shea?
I think you just mentioned the QR code, and I thought it might be helpful in case anyone's not familiar with them to quickly show our flyer that I put QR codes on.
Okay.
Would y'all like to see it?
Yeah, I think that'd be helpful so that people understand what we're referring to.
All right.
Current example. And these you can get generated for free. It doesn't cost you anything. All you need is your URL. If you've got your URL, then you go out to a site called bit.ly, bit.ly, and you put in your URL and it gives you back this graphic so that when somebody scans that graphic, they go to your website, they go to your link.
Can y'all
Is
see
there
this?
anybody that doesn't know
Can
what
y'all
to
see
do
it?
with it?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay.
Is there anybody that doesn't know what to do when you see a QR code? Okay. You get your camera, open your phone, hit camera, and then you hold the camera close to that QR code and you'll see a little yellow bar that comes up and you tap on the yellow bar and that will take you exactly to the website or the spot where that QR code is originated. It's like magic. Thank you, Raina Shea.
You'll also notice for our preview at the one at the bottom, we also used a short URL for our landing page for the previews because because Janet has constant contact account, we use that for people to register for our previews. And then More to Life Hub is for registering for the actual course.
Yeah, thank you, Raina Shea.
Any questions about that? Okay.
Let's see where we are.
Ross, in person or online?
Yeah, we don't have a ton of time for this, so I'll hit some highlights. Some of these things probably make sense. They're just things that you would understand intuitively, but it's easy to forget some of them. So online, if you're doing a Zoom preview, it works nicely. You'd want somebody on team that can support the technical stuff. Like if you're going to have breakout rooms and have timing, Colette's giving us timing cues today, at least one person on team that can do the technical stuff. Depending on how you want to support the people there, it might be nice to have a couple to 3 or 4 maybe team members if you're going to do breakout sessions and do some work like that. If not, then, sorry, got a ping. If not, it just depends on how your preview is designed, but it's nice to have somebody in there that can pair up and can talk more about More to Life. Globally, the organization of More to Life has 4 Zoom accounts. So if you don't have like a paid pro Zoom account, you can use one of the MTL ones. And the main difference between those two is that a free account is only for a 45-minute meeting. So previews often need to be a bit longer than that. So if you're using one of the More to Life accounts, you could set your preview for an hour and a half or whatever that you intend to do. And then the other thing that's different about online is the hardware. You know, some people want to have a headset so that they are able to hear better. Lighting is a consideration. I've got a second monitor, so if I've got a big group, I can see the whole group at the same time. These things aren't mandatory, but it is helpful depending on how far you get into this. Now, for an in-person preview, a venue, there are restaurants in Houston that have a meeting room that they offer for free because they assume they're going to get some business if people come in, and you can reserve that meeting room and be able to do meetings there. Sometimes we've done meetings, like one of the people in the Houston community is a realtor, and we've been able to use her office after hours, you know, a professional conference room to do these previews. So that works well. Thinking about geographic stuff and traffic patterns, there's certain places in Houston that you wouldn't want to do on a work night because it'd be very difficult for people to get there just because of traffic. So looking at that, and that is, of course, one of the advantages of doing it online. Doing it in person, you want handouts. You're going to want printed name tags, flyers, printed handouts. If you're using a whiteboard or if you're using flip chart, you'd want to have that available. One of the offices we used had a monitor on the wall, so I would do PowerPoint that had the different graphics that we wanted to display that night. And so that was nice because it looked very professional and it had the logo on it. So it looked nice and neat. Sign-in list, pre-populated with your registrants. You know, are you going to want to have snacks and water? I think in London, sometimes they have wine. And if you do that, then plates, cups, forks, napkins. Again, there's some reference materials for this, but just to give you a general idea of what the differences are when you're doing something online versus what you're doing in person. So that was a flyby. That was pretty quick.
Yeah. And very shortly, there will be some sample previews for each one of the 3 LF classes stored under resources on the hub. I'm in the midst of gathering information, and we just hired somebody who's going to be in charge of doing that. So it's one of the tasks on my desk. So how about a break? You guys ready for about a 10-minute break? Yeah. So, Colette, the time is?
Oh, the time is 19 minutes past the hour.
So we could come back at 30 after.
Okay. Was there
30.
something you wanted to say, Colette?
I wanted to say to Raina Shea that what really stood out for me was, how would your life change if? And I was really drawn to that, and I've not seen it in that way before. So thank you. Yeah.
Okay. See you back at 30 minutes after the hour.
Right.
Refresh yourself.
Get a drink, bathroom break, whatever you need. Okay. So we want to look at how to build a team for a course. To start off, I think one of the pieces is sometimes it's hard, and there, I think everybody runs into this at some point, where it's a little hard to ask somebody to be on team because it can feel like you're asking them for a favor, and it can seem like you're asking them for a big favor. The time and energy to be involved in this, the time in the run-up, they may be involved in helping you enroll, they may be involved in helping get stuff printed. It could be a wide variety of things, and just the course time itself to be there for the course. It's a big commitment. But the thing is they get a lot out of it, and they get a lot out of it from their own personal growth standpoint. And so as a way to maybe refresh that idea for you, we wanted to give our team members some time to talk about what they've gotten for being on team for this class and how it's affected them and how it's affected their possibility about doing LF courses and maybe other things in their life. So who'd like to kick us off? Colette, you're off mute. You want to start? Okay.
Oh, I was ready, obviously. Yes, I wanted to be on team because over the last sort of 38 years, I have, been passionate about the power of courses. So when I heard that Sylvia and Ross had worked together with Beth, had put together this, pilot course, I thought I do really want to be part of this, a part of something going forward, a new initiative that hadn't been done before. I knew they'd put a lot of thought into it, and some of you have said that, you're aware of how much is in the course. So I had a big yes to being on team. The same for yourself. It's we have a team meeting on the night before, so it's a commitment, and to do this means that I'm not doing something else. So far, I would say some of the things that I've got, it's like being woken up again when I thought I was awake before, but finding that there are areas, no, I'm not awake. The other is I've had Galloping Mind Talk about technology, because Karen and Amina are just excellent at that. So, I use the material on the Power of Self-Esteem course for that. Then when I didn't want to, because there was so many other commitments that were coming in, I made a choice for this commitment, and I used the Power of Purpose material with that. And then I've gained more confidence, which is wonderful. Thanks to Sylvia, Ross, Amina, and Karen. It's been a total joy to work with everybody who's so committed and has such a strong purpose for you, particularly, and for ourselves. So thanks to that, I have submitted something to the University of the Third Age, which has been accepted, and I am now going to do. Thank you, Janet. And so I have put forward a proposal to teach one-off sessions for self-esteem, purpose, power, connection. So who knows where that will take us? And so you can see how much I've actually got from being on team.
Thank you, Colette. Yeah, for sure.
She also learned to video herself.
I've done it.
Yes.
The other piece of that is, I've seen Colette's name for years, but I'd never got to spend any extended time. We'd never seen each other, in person or on Zoom. And so now I've got, people to add to my list of folks that I'm connected with around the world. Karen and I had worked on things, and Mina and I had worked on things before, but we hadn't seen each other in a long time. So it starts to become this network and web of folks that you're on this journey with, and it's a very different feeling.
Yes.
So for this particular course, Karen, what have you learned, or what has been a benefit to you for being on team?
If I may, I created something to speak to about that, so I'd like to share.
What creative
let's
people
hope.
we have in our group.
Oh,
Let's see if my share works.
I'll probably have to
yeah.
make you a co-host. Okay.
Yes.
All right, you're co-host.
Is it showing up?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay, so I'll just say, so I think I've had a couple of reminders while being on Team for Reignite, and I think also reigniting my own little fire. I think for a good couple of 18 months, the story I tell myself is I lived like a hermit because I was busy finishing up my PhD thesis. So reigniting, coming on Team for this course was a way for me to just reconnect with community and connecting with people in a different way, out of my head, back into my heart. So, and it was amazing how once I said yes, some of the images that came on my computer desktop was so suited for the different weeks that we've had. And just the Aurora Borealis was one of the ones that came up during this time, one of the weeks. And so I like to look at the spiritual meaning of things. And so what, you see there on the screen that this symbolizes Earth's magnetic field. Mistake there in the spelling. Individuals may find inspiration in the idea that beauty and growth can emerge from unexpected, challenging circumstances. And I think I've seen that with us. We've grappled with different things, we've grappled with who we are, and those were opportunities for us to actually experience the magnificence of who we are. So it's beautiful to be on Team and witness people's transformation. So really it was for me witnessing the renewal and transformation of all of us in different ways, because as Team we also transform with the participants, and just newfound freedom in trusting myself, trusting others, trusting coming alongside, collaborating as a team. And then I'm passionate about making a contribution. So I like to live a life of contribution. And then I think there's also some form of creativity that happens. So being creative together. Look at how many ideas came up as we share. So we really evoke each other while we get together in this way. So that was beautiful to witness one more time. And so I can truly say that I'm walking away reignited. So thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Ross, for having me on Team one more time. Colette, I enjoyed getting to know you better as well. And Tamina, wonderful to be on Team with you one more time again. And then all of you, really wonderful to see how you've grown and how you've stepped into the purposes that you've created for yourself earlier on in the course. And it's a journey, and sometimes it will be up, sometimes it will be down, but at least there's moving forward. So well done for all the work that you've done and what you've gotten for yourself. Hopefully some of those pearls will go with you as you start to create your courses.
Thank you,
Thank
Karen.
you.
This is beautiful. Very beautiful. Appreciate your sharing with us.
Mhm.
Okay. Mina, did you want to add anything?
I can. I'm also conscious of time.
Okay.
Are we ending on the hour, or can I still speak?
No, we're ending on the 30 minutes after.
Oh, okay. So I came on Team with a few hats on because I'm part of the global ops and I'm a country communications person. I've always had the view that our facilitators are actually, all of our facilitators are more so than other students of More to Life, ambassadors that are taking the work out there and bringing people back in. So it's like the boat that goes out, you've got a huge net of fish and you bring them back all the time. And how do we do this in a better way? So how can we support our facilitators to not only do that better just for the course they're doing, but better for themselves? And that's always been a piece for me, looking at our South African facilitators. How can I encourage and support them, not only with marketing, but across the board. And whenever they leave the course and become disheartened because it didn't always turn out the way that they thought, even though you use all your processes and expectations and life shocks, etc. But there are things that we don't necessarily take into account, like, you know, the business side of things, the money side of things. I have to spend money on petrol and flowers and food and all those kind of things, which magically happens when there's a weekend because team is there and there's a budget. But all of a sudden, as a facilitator, are you aware of all these other things? So very grateful that Ross and Sylvia asked me, because this has always been in my mind. We're also looking at this and how we can support facilitators, obviously from a global perspective, and more coming along that side. But how do I have it so that I can underpin you and you can walk away, not only for more to life, but for yourself, and grow and be better around what you do? And I do that as training for teachers and for parents and for children. So for me, it was also just really natural to be able to slide this in and do this with More to Life as well. And vice versa, I use More to Life in all the other spheres too. So I'm very grateful to be here, and ditto to what Colette and Karen has said, and to see how you move and flow and blossom. And Colette, for example, you know, going to UA3 and now doing all these courses, and seeing Janet and Raina Shea's Facebook page and all, you know, the ads coming out and all of that. I'm going, this is what it's about. And how could we be better at the next run of this, you know, and what more could you do? Because now for the next turn, you can start mentoring other people and other facilitators, because you now know more than what you did before. So it's very exciting and inspirational. And I'm very encouraged that all of you are here. You know, you're giving of your time. It's a Friday night, a Saturday night. And as team, you know, as I was saying, we're spending time here setting this up for you, which you know, being on team. And it's also been fun, learning more about the team, connecting. I really enjoyed this, and I'd be up for another round, Sylvia and Ross. Thank you.
Yay. I want to share with you, one time I asked somebody to be on my team, and she said, well, my answer is yes. She said, but you asked me, you didn't enroll me. And it was like, boom, okay, she was dead on. I didn't start with, what are you going for in your life, and connect the dots with what she might get on the team. I just went out and asked, would you be on my team? And so it was a perfect reminder that I want to enroll my team into the benefits that they might get, and start with the place of listening to what they want and where they are and where they're going. And then you talk with them about it. I think I was just in a hurry and trying to, you know, check off a list, but I haven't done it since then.
Yeah, that's one of those ahas that pays a lot of dividends.
Yeah.
Team, thanks for sharing, you know, reminding us. I know all of us have been on teams, reminding us what those experiences can produce in our lives. There are some LFs in some different countries that at times will pay their team. And I think that is dependent on your business model. And it's not required. They're still going to be getting a lot, and they may have expenses. If you're having an in-person training and they have to pay for gasoline, for example, things like that. So it's not totally out of the ordinary. It is something that's common in some places. And what it means is that you're going to want to look at what your overall budget is in order to know what your tuition is that you're going to want to charge based on how many people you think you can get enrolled. So it's really a critical part of this. It will make your life a lot easier. And I'm telling you this as a person that coordinated advanced courses for many years. Having a budget, knowing what your expenses are, knowing when those costs will be incurred, knowing when your registrations are coming in is really, really helpful when you get out in the middle of it. Because when you get out in the middle of it, it's not quite as clear as it was when you were sitting there looking at it at a distance. So implement some of those parts for yourself, because it'll really be helpful. It'll pay a lot of dividends. Colette?
Yes, I think things really, I got very clear at one point and never looked back after that. And so it was a big stretch for me to even think, never mind talk about money. However, once I'd got really clear about that, I would say to people, I want you to come to this course and we don't talk about money anymore because it's already done. So this is a requirement that I'm asking from you to make sure that you actually pay before the course starts. Occasionally, you know, I did make a arrangement, but I was very clear myself. I didn't want to think about money anymore. I wanted it done clearly, and then we start, and that's it.
Put to bed.
It really cleared the way very consciously to, and now we work. Yeah.
Well, I know in the courses that Sylvia and I do, we have and she knows if she's talking to somebody, and I know if I'm talking to somebody, if there's somebody who has some financial challenges of some sort, where they're really interested in the course and they may not be able to pay the amount that we're charging for full tuition, we will work with them. We want people to have an investment in it because it's really easy for somebody to walk away when it gets tough if they haven't put any money of their own in. And at the same time, we also want to allow people to have this opportunity because not everybody's in a place where they can afford something like this. They may be in a place where their life is changing and this would be just the thing to support them. And again, that's, you know, you work with your team and you talk about that. Sometimes you can get maybe key people in the community that will provide some scholarship money, and you use that to offset. So there's lots of creative ways to go about this part of this, either for participants or for team. This is a co-creation with your team. You know, this is something where it's like we're flying together, and there's less turbulence when we actually are working together in flight. So being able to work with your team, have them engaged. I guess the other thing I want to say about Team 2, that's to me personally is really important, is it's such a great developmental path. So it's lovely to have like superstar team members like we've got here. Boy, I tell you, it definitely helps. But I also like to enroll newer people, either newer students or newer LFs, because there's something about mentoring those folks that come along, especially in so many communities where there's not a lot of trainings happening. I mean, my first 7 or 8 years, I was on team for 4 or 5 trainings a year. And that's a great place to continue to work and grow. And it's not yet available again for the students that we have now. So any place that you can partner with somebody, bring somebody in, let them learn, you know, mentor them a little bit, you'll find it really rewarding. And it's a way of keeping Brad's work alive.
So each country has an LF coordinator. And so you can get a list of who has taken LF courses. We have way more people who've taken the courses than who have taught. And you can consider asking some of those people to be on your team. You want the people on your team to have taken the course before so that they have some context for it. You know, they don't have to be an LF who's taught the class, but they need to have taken it before. And then, Amina?
Just to add, there is an Aleph Global group on the hub. So Adrian and I have been populating with all the Aleph globally. So you can also post on there, because it may be that depending on your time zone, it works that you have facilitators from the UK do a course in Europe, or from South Africa, because we're more or less in the same time zone. And so please, I really would like you to also start conversations there. You know, speak to other Alephs on there. advertise your courses on that group as well and say, you know, who'd like to come along and be mentored, like Sylvia said, because right now there's no conversation on the group, and I'd really appreciate it if we start. Thank you.
Janet.
Speaking of putting it on the LF group on the hub, I've heard talk about trying to get less platforms so that we're more streamlined in where we put things. And I know that when Raina Shea and I created our videos for our POP, I thought about, well, I'll put it on my Facebook page and I'll put it on my Facebook business page, and then I'll do LinkedIn, and then I'll do my LinkedIn business page. But within the More to Life community, I literally thought, well, I put it on Friends of More to Life, but then I put it on the LF page, but then I put it on this other page. Is there a list of, these are the pages that are the best places to post whatever it is you're posting? Because I'm frankly confused by it all right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm missing groups of people, and I don't know where that's heading.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead,
Friends
Tina.
of More to Life is actually our internal group. It's our student graduate Facebook group. So actually, you're not wanting to advertise on there. That specific group is for interaction. Yes, we're going to advertise advanced courses because we're speaking to students. So that's what that group's about. But when you're wanting to advertise externally, you do it on our More to Life official global group. So there will be information coming soon, and Tara's been speaking already about this. She's going to be at some other peer-to-peer group meetings, etc. But there will be a way that ideally you contact your country person, you send them the information, they submit it to Tara, Tibersley, obviously, and then she posts it on our global page so that it's advertised globally on Facebook and on Instagram. You can obviously advertise your own work on your own pages like you've got, Janet, but we're looking at one specific Facebook thread that we have all the information on there, and it's not all over in 42 other pages that we're still trying to close down. But the Friends of More to Life group is our student graduate group. And yes, students could also send information to other people about that. But I think at this point, we've probably enrolled every single friend and aunt and uncle and cousin that we've known. So
But
it tends
I'm
to
sorry.
clog speed.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mina, but I want to say that my thinking has been that there can be people who have taken the More Life Weekend or Launchpad, but have not taken an empowerment course. And so I think that's a really important pool of people to reach when I'm marketing my POP course, because I think the people who've taken More to Life already might be more likely to be someone who will later want to teach the empowerment courses as well. So I do include that in that group.
It's that too. And what we're wanting is we're actually wanting to move people to the hub so that there's more conversation there, and all new people are actually going onto the hub. So if you're looking at all the new people coming off our courses now, they'd be more on the hub than on the Facebook page. So yes, have a look at what's the information's coming out now. It will be in the ICS updates, and there's more coming soon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That is one of the pieces of the business support that's getting a lot of attention, has been getting a lot of attention for a little bit of time, and is getting more, is to get all of that consolidated and get it into, because every community started their own Facebook page and all of those things, which is great. They were meeting a need, but that's all getting brought back together again.
One of the benefits of being on team is partnering skills. Many of us, myself included, were really good Lone Rangers early in my life, but being able to partner with somebody else is not necessarily the same thing. And it takes some practice to be able to have that ebb and flow with somebody. That's the reason why we created support partners in this particular class, but you would do it on any team so that you can develop trust, you can develop opportunities to give each other data-based feedback. At the end of each class, we rely on Colette to give us some data-based feedback about what we did that worked, what we did that didn't work. And it's not about criticism. It's about how can we hone our skills so that we are better at it. And it
It was-
requires that you leave your ego outside. And
Oh, sorry, Sylvia, keep.
yeah, go ahead.
So it was interesting because I always, when people ask me for feedback before I started doing preview presentation in Houston, I don't know, whenever it was, 10, 15 years ago, I'd always give them the highlights. I'd give them the good stuff. You did this, and they reacted to that. The first time I did a preview of my own, I wanted to know the feedback. I didn't, the good stuff is fine. It's great to know that's happening, but I wanted to get better. I wanted to understand what was working and what wasn't. And it shocked me to have that feeling inside myself, because one of my patterns for a long time in my life was being afraid of being criticized and afraid of being vulnerable with somebody where they're telling me I didn't hit the mark. That went away because my purpose was such that I wanted to hear the feedback. And it's really helpful when it's delivered in a compassionate, shoulder to shoulder kind of way. That works, and that's a skill that you get to practice on team. And sometimes, the life shocks don't come in totally gracefully, and there may still be data in that. So then I get to work the life shock and the feedback.
So for this course, and Janet, did you have a question? You're on mute.
I do have one, and hopefully you'll get to this. I fully get the part about creating teams based on skills, and this one's good on tech, and this one's good on heart, and this one can do, handouts or whatever. When you can, please comment on creating partnerships on like either learning style or teaching style, or balancing warm access, cool access, male, female, that kind of stuff. Because I'd like to hear a little bit more about what y'all have to say about doing that. I've created teams and I've created partnerships, but I want some guidance on that now, knowing what I know now.
I think that our intention is to have a resource library. I'm telling you, at one point, this was going to be a 12-week class. 8 of them are mandatory, and then you can visit these other ones that you're interested in, because there's just so much involved. So what we decided to do is to have things like that. That'd be a great video segment, a 10-minute video segment to talk about balance on creating a team. And that way, people don't have to wait for a class like this. They can go look at it. I think it's really important that we have that, because newer people that come in, they want to get started. They don't want to wait for something. The trainer body has started what we call a fishbowl, which is where the trainers talk about their experiences as trainers. So those of us that don't have the same amount of experience can learn from them. So it's that sort of a bit.
So one of the tools that we have really used in this course, we've used it in others, is a timeline graphic as a communication tool for our team and the presenters. And Ross developed this, so give him an opportunity to share it and talk about it. It's been really helpful.
Yeah, this morphed over time. It's really difficult to give team a manual. It's got a bunch of detail in it. When team is interested in when do I have to do the breakout rooms, or what's coming next, or when are we going to have a break? The other advantage of having some process to manage your time at a high level, whether it's this or something else that you already use or something that works better for you, is that when Sylvia and I are having time challenges, this ran long or whatever, and that happens. This is going to happen in your classes where you have an interaction with a participant. It's a very powerful and deep interaction that you don't want to necessarily cut off. And yet you're going to have to adjust your times. So this one, at this point, it's gotten pretty thorough. If you're doing online and you've got graphics, you can list where the graphics occur and what the graphic is. If you've got breakouts and a timekeeper, like see here, we were saying, depending on how many people showed up today, we might have to do breakouts of quads or triads. for that discussion about the 6-week journey. What was your 6-week journey like? So this gives us a plan where the participants, the team and the presenters are on the same page. We have a high level topical list of what happens at each point in time, how much time we have for each of those topics. And now also by zone, we obviously we just used US for a while, but then for this class, we added UK and South Africa. And then New Zealand could go here. One other thing that's nice about this is that it actually self-corrects itself. And if you change your time, it'll refigure the time. So that's just a factor of this particular way of doing this. But we really recommend this because this has helped so much, especially in online classes, to help everybody work together. I don't know, some of the, like, I guess it's beyond anger that there's quite a bit of graphics and breakouts and things, and it would be very difficult to run that class without something like this.
So all you've got to do is put the bits and pieces on the side of what you have and the duration. And I don't know how it does. It looked like magic to me, but Ross has configured it so that the time changes automatically. Ross, talk a little bit about that because I think that's an important piece.
Yeah, so the start of your class time is in this row. And what happens is the spreadsheet's smart enough that it looks at the amount of time for that section and it adds it to the beginning time. If you look up here in this bar, there's a calculation. And so if I change this number to 15, you'll see that all of the times change all the way down through the meeting. You know.
Yeah, so you don't need to go in there by yourself and change the times. So how will they be able to get a blank one of these so that they could create one for themselves?
Well, I think we're going to have it in the resource on the hub. The one, anyway, I won't go into all the details.
Can you just email it to us though today?
Yeah, I can email it out to you today.
Because I've made something very similar to this already for our POP course, but I did it in Word, and I can really see the benefit of shifting it to Excel so that I could do what you've done with the time.
Oh yeah. And automatically doing the different time zones helps so much.
Yeah. When you start doing things across regions, it's almost not going to work to not have something that shows times. Because otherwise, you know, I'm thinking, okay, we started at 1, we're an hour and 15 minutes in. That means we should be at 2:15. It's really hard to balance that at the same time that you're delivering a course.
In that line that says session number 6, Karin, Amina, Colette, we usually put like Karin graphics, Amina breakout rooms, whatever task they're going to have for that particular class, so that when they're looking down and they see a breakout room, they know who's going to do it. And so it makes our team meetings be more about connecting and less about logistics, because we can share this. Ross usually sends it out the day before the team meeting. That way we can ask questions if we have it, but we don't have to spend the whole team meeting talking about each little piece.
It's very organized, and it like Sylvia says, it allows us to think more about and talk with the team more about the content of the class and not just about all the, you know, this, that, and the others. This would be there. Janet?
Yeah, I really like the way this is laid out, and I could see how it would benefit Raina Shea and me for our upcoming POP preview. I'm thinking that for us, we're dealing with 2 different time zones within the US, but I don't think we have anybody in other countries yet. So for us, perhaps we could do 1 column on Central Time, 1 column on Eastern Time, you know, and basically use the same thing, only adjust it that way. But I think this looks great.
The beauty of it is you could save it in a Google Doc, so that the next time you go to run a class, you've already got most of the information down. You just have to change whatever time you're starting. And you don't have to recreate the wheel every time.
Mhm.
So we've got all 6 sessions of Reignite so that when we do Reignite in January, we don't have nearly the amount of work when we do it again. And it kind of encourages you to redo a class because it's not so much work.
Mhm. And we've got these set up for mastery classes. We're planning on putting templates out there for the 3 Power of classes. That'll take a little bit of time, and right now I've got some other things. So if I can get to that by the end of the year, that is more likely than anytime soon. But that way, if we've got these templates out here and people can start using them, the other advantage is that if you're on team, like Mina's on team today and she's gotten familiar with this way of doing it, if she's on team for Colette and Colette's using one of these things, we've just reduced out the learning curve. So anyway, so that's that. I'm a gearhead, so this is where this all came from.
So when you are looking at your team to build a team, you do want, like Janet mentioned a little while ago, you do want kind of warm access people, the heady people and the heart people. You want different skill levels. You want some introverts and some extroverts. You know, the introverts will sit back and they will scan the room and they will tell you which kinds of things are off, and they notice many more details. The extrovert helps you connect. You put that extrovert as your greeter at the door if you're having an in-person one. So you want to have a balance of skills. Like in this one, Colette didn't have so many tech skills, but she's got a wide range of experience with
Support.
LF.
Mhm.
And then we had Karen and Mina who had the tech skills. So try to have a balance. And it's a great way to invite an LF who has never taught before. And as I said, you can get those lists. That's what Janet did from me. She got a list of people who are qualified to be LFs, but they hadn't taught before.
Now that's the optimum situation. There are times where it's not, you don't have those kinds of resources available, and you do have people available. Trust yourself, even if they're not perfect, even if you can't get every little slot filled, trust yourself to build your team, and all of you guys will learn together, right? And if you don't have anybody that's technical, you can reach out to people who can help them, you know, say, how do we do Zoom? And we'll have some Zoom tutorials on the hub and things like that. But you've got resources to learn this stuff. We want to spread this information, these abilities, this experience out wider and wider.
So if you're in the UK, there's a whole ambassador system where the ambassador kind of holds your hand from the beginning of the class to the end. Now, the rest of the world, we haven't developed that yet. But by the end of 2025, I want to have a council of experienced LFs. I don't know what we'll call it. It'll be some sort of global LF mentors or something, so that we can get input and say, look, I'm having trouble with enrolling, or I'm having trouble with thinking of media, or whatever your question is. Mentors that you can contact and ask questions. But it's going to be on you to ask for what you want. It always is.
And it's going to be a great tool for bringing along new LFs, because it's great that things happen organically and it takes time. Whereas if we can supply more and more of the toolkit and be alongside people, they'll develop faster. The faster they develop, the more students that take this work into the world, and the more we get to see the effect of that.
Yeah. And Rafael, we wanted to have a chance for you to have your voice in here. Is there anything that you've heard that we've talked about that you would like to share anything about, or anything about something that's been helpful for you in this class? May have lost.
So I see my screen just went blank. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if you can see me.
We can hear you though.
Sure. Yeah, I think for me, I need to do a bit of revision. So for me, the cause has awakened me. It's just that I feel a bit kind of like guilty on my part that I was not 100% in. I missed a few sessions. But then my commitment to myself was to take time as well to go back and really put in the work in terms of the assignments that have been put in and apply as soon as possible in a way. Else to share, Sylvia, beyond me going back and catching up in essence.
Yeah. And, you know, there's not a deadline for you. You know, we gave you the assignments and hoped that you would be able to do it, but you've got now till the end of the year, if you want, to go back, review those assignments.
Rewatch the videos.
Watch the videos. Ross will have the videos done sometime this week for you, and that can be part of your permanent library. And go back and listen to them again, because, you know, learning, we get it one time, and then the second time we listen to it again, we get something else, usually what we need. And so continue to resource yourself.
Yeah, this isn't a one and done. This isn't intended to be, okay, now you've had it, now you go out in the world all by yourself. These resources are going to be out there. The videos will be out there. You know, we're going to continue to build these libraries. And if you've got stuff that's worked for you, like Mina was going to send us the checklist, there's, you know, things that you can forward in and we can look at how to incorporate it. So, you know, it's all of us working on this together that's going to move it forward. Now, one of the things that we haven't really talked a ton about, we've talked about being support partners during the 6 weeks, but we haven't emphasized how important it is for you as a leader of, hang on a second, there we go, I'm getting distracted, to have support, personal support, processing support. You know, it's great, like Colette and Karin and Amina have all been giving us feedback and their eyes are on us. And yet, if I take a hit on something, it's really great to have somebody who is your constant support partner or is a skilled facilitator that you can meet with. And it may be one directional support. If you're going to be building a cycle and you want them to be 12 or 15 weeks alongside you, find somebody who's willing to be your support for that period of time and do the work. If you do your work, you're going to get benefit out of the course. If you don't do your work, it's just going to make everything harder. It's going to make getting the things that you're avoiding done harder. You won't be as productive in the class. You may be being disappointed or frustrated. Notice what happened, because those patterns show up in your life. Those are the learnings. Those are the things that we're working towards mastering. So we want this, you being an LF and having courses, to be in service of your life and your growth, along with everybody else. And a support partner is a critical part of that. If you skip any piece, don't skip that piece. Don't skip that piece, please. If you want to really grow yourself, that's a key part of this. The other thing that we recommend is that you do the process that you're going to be teaching yourself before the class that you do it, so that you're familiar with it, but you've also got that emotional connection to it. And you may have pulled up some insights through that will help you present that process in the class in a way that lands with your students. So that's another good tip. And then, yeah, and then the other piece is about the partnership with your co-facilitator. You will get life shocks along your growth path. I don't know if I said it to this group before, but when Sylvia and I first started co-presenting mastery classes, I wasn't as trusting of her as I could have been. And so I was getting life shocks around different things that were happening. And we would talk about things because there are things that you're working on with your support partner, but there's also growth edges involved. And now I'm, you know, all of that work that we did together online back during COVID moved me forward as a trainer and had me in a different space at the front of the room when I got to be at the front of the room again. All of this is an opportunity for your growth. And so don't shortchange yourself. You know, you're at the buffet, eat up. All right.
All right, so Karen, we'll go ahead and have triads for maybe 8 minutes. And so you're going to be in a quick triad just to talk, each have 2 or 3 minutes about what you learned about partnering with your partner, what worked, what didn't work, what would you look for in a support partner? If you had a do-over, how would you do it over? And of course, we do have do-overs. Life is our do-over. And so you'll just have a few minutes to connect and talk about how that support person relationship worked for you and what you noticed for yourself. So make sure that everybody has a chance to talk, at least 2 minutes each, and then we'll come back together for a close.
It could be just conversational too, but yeah. What's your perfect support partner look like?
And what happened if it didn't work for you?
All right, let me pause the recording.
Let's have a one word share as to let's everybody take a breath. And check in with yourself. What's one feeling that you are feeling in this moment? So take yourselves off mute.
Grateful.
Grateful.
Loving.
Tired.
Appreciate.
Appreciate.
Connected.
Grateful.
Satisfied.
Peaceful.
Connected.
Connected.
Hopeful.
And I'm heartful.
Heartful. A lovely word. What about you, Ross?
Well, I said satisfied, and
Oh,
I think
sorry.
that's it. Yeah, it's just
All right.
satisfied. I feel like I've been filled up.
Okay. Lovely. Well, we do want to hear more from you. And tomorrow, Mina and I will work on an online feedback form that we will send to you. And we'd like to ask you to, spend, 15 or 20 minutes giving your feedback because it's important to us. We want to reoffer this class in mid-January. So we'll use some of your feedback to continue to craft this course. One thing we realized is that it really needs to be a 3-hour course instead of a 2.5 because we were a bit rushed with the material. And so whatever feedback you can give us is greatly appreciated. We'll send that out to you in the next couple of days and ask that you get it back within a week.
Yeah, and that's feedback about how we did as presenters, feedback about the content, feedback about the flow, just whatever comes up. A lot of us have been on a lot of teams or have done this work. And your eyes are really important. This is the first time. We want to know how to make it better.
Yeah. What mattered to you? What helped you grow as an LF, even what you thought was superfluous
Mhm.
and didn't seem to help.
All right.
So thank you all for your contributions and for being here, for being you, fully you. It mattered that you were here. And each of you did the best you could, whether you were here every session or 5 sessions or 4 sessions. I'm believing that you did the best you could.
That's yeah, I wanted to acknowledge the folks that watch these videos that couldn't be with us, but watch the videos and find their way through in that manner. This is all, if you're wanting to create something, find your way to create it. And if that means watching the videos because you had to miss a class, then, dive in. You'll find yourself asking questions and wondering why no one's responding to you.
So Karin has a beautiful song that she thought would be a nice way for us to end our session. So allow yourself to just listen and breathe.
Toolbar to move. There we go.
Tell me.
Back it up.
That's volume.
Tell me you ready for a revolution. Yeah, it's written in black and white. So come on and join the ride. I can feel your desire deep down in your soul. I can feel the fire. To the streets, yeah, we gonna fly, yeah, we gonna touch the sky, yeah, tell it to your brother, singing on the dance floor, yeah, come on, let's fly, yeah, we gonna touch the sky, yeah, sing power to you.
Karen. It is about holding each other's hands and going forward. Ross, you get the last word.
Oh, I get the last word. Okay. Well, like I said earlier, I can't believe I'm so lucky in my life to be in this place that my journey's included people at advanced courses and people in all over the place, to learn the things that I've learned in this program and to be peers of all of you and knowing that we're part of what Brad invested in, part of what Brad created, Roy and all those folks. We're their progeny. We get to take this out into the world. And I don't know how I got that lucky. Thank you for being here.
Yes. Good luck. Please let us know if you want some support.
Special thank you to Sylvia and Ross and the team.
Stellar team.
Give yourself some
Well-
wiggles.
Well done, everybody.
Oh, well.
Thank you, y'all.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye
Bye.
now.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Setlopo. Thank you, Riffiway.